everybody. Welcome to Taft College Multiply Taft Talk. We are so excited to have you here today. This is our inaugural, meaning our very first one. And we're so fortunate to have our good friends from Aera Energy join us today. Aera Energy has been a longtime supporter of Taft College, as well as the city of Taft. And we have many alumni working there. We have an intern that's working there that's going to speak to you today. And we also have a lot of friends at Aera Energy. They've been a wonderful company for Kern County. And later, you're going to hear from Ryan Nelson, who will tell you a little bit more about Aera Energy. But right now, I have just a few housekeeping issues. I want to let you know, if you are on right now, please go to the chat room and type your name in, because that's how we're going to select the giveaways for the Amazon gift cards. So if we don't know if you're here, we won't have your name. So please type your name in. Secondly, the event is being recorded. So just so you know, this will all be recorded, and it most likely will be reposted on Taft College Multiply for you to go back and look at in case you missed anything or just want to hear it again. The other thing is we have a Q&A on the chat box. Down at the bottom, you'll see Q&A, questions and answers. We really want you to put those questions and answers in there for our speakers today, because we want to know what you need to know, and they're going to let you know. So please give us your questions and we will get those answered, and we'll do that toward the end of the program. We plan to go about 1 hour today. Let's see, anything else? Oh, if we have any sort of technical interruption, let's say someone freezes or someone goes away for a minute, hang on, just stay there, because they'll be back in a few minutes. So don't go anywhere. There's technical difficulties to everything, right? So just hang in there. We'll all be back with you. And remember, we're going to give away those 2 Amazon gift cards. So hang in there with us. So without further ado, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our first speaker. I've known Karen for a few years now, but Karen Sandoval was born and raised in Bakersfield. She's a full-time student now attending CSU Bakersfield, and she's also a full-time mommy. She has a beautiful 3-year-old daughter who really keeps her on her toes. She is also a 2020 graduate of Taft College, aka Alum. She has many degrees, and I was just blown away when I read this, but that's what's great about a community college. You have the opportunity to take more classes, and counselors work with you and go, did you know that you can get this degree too if you take just this one class, right, Karen? And so she ended up getting an AS in physical science, an AA in liberal arts with an emphasis in math and science, as well as an AA in liberal arts with an emphasis in communications. She also has her industrial health and safety certificate from Taft College. She is beyond ecstatic to be sharing with all of you today, and she thanks each and every one of you for your time and attention. Take it away, Miss Karen Sandoval.
Thank you, Sherry. And hi, guys. As Sherry mentioned, my name is Karen Sandoval, and I was born and raised here in Bakersfield, California. I am a daughter of 2 Salvadorian parents. I have 2 siblings, an older brother and a younger sister. And like Sherry mentioned, I am a mother to a 3-year-old. And you know, they talk about terrible 2s, but there's terrifying 3s too. I am currently a full-time student at the California State University of Bakersfield, and I am a 3rd-year intern with Aera as a health and safety intern. I want to share with you guys a little bit about my background. I mentioned I have 2 Salvadorian parents. When they came, they were immigrants, and working to survive was their priority. Education was a privilege my parents could not embrace. They both worked hard to maintain and raise their family there afterwards. My mother graduated high school, and my dad was unable to go past the 8th grade. So earning an education became the prime focus for us as their children. They made sure we had all the tools necessary to be successful in school. I started out at Bakersfield College, but I didn't really know what my major was right there and then. So my second time around, I finished at Taft College because they had an industrial health and safety program that I was interested in pursuing. So I finished out at Taft College, And at Taft College is where I found my opportunity to also intern with Aera. So it helped me to connect with Aera as well. This is my 3rd year interning with Aera. And I come back because the culture is welcoming, the people are kind, and I'm valued. Their purpose, visions, and values are aligned with mine. This summer, my project consisted of analyzing and comparing a vast amount of sampling data across all assets found in our software program that stores this data called Cordy, and to come up with an actionable recommendations as to how we can standardize this data. In turn, we will have organized data. So this is important for Aera as a company as a whole, because it helps us to keep a positive relationship with government agencies when they come on site for audits and are asking to see some of this sampling data. Not to mention at the asset level, it helps us to have organized data that makes sense. So my project this year fell under an industrial hygiene category. And taking my classes at Taft College, because I took an industrial hygiene class there, really helped me to understand the many components that industrial hygiene embarks. Health and safety allows you to go home alive and well, but industrial hygiene allows you to enjoy your retirement. And you can see that my project it's going to be a great impact for the company as well as for those there. My classes at Taft College really helped me to form a foundational understanding of the industrial and health and safety field. But it wasn't always that easy. I mentioned I started out at BC. Straight out of high school, I went to Bakersfield College. But I had to stop due to some family financial struggles. At 21 years old, I was hired at State Farm's corporate office, and I dedicated 3 years there. I promoted, and I worked as a claims assistant for the total loss department. I liked it, but it wasn't my forever. And I knew I wanted to go back to school to get to where I really wanted to be in life. I worked for the total loss department, so I got to see a lot of pictures of some major accidents, some really graphic things, right? And that just gave me my first exposure to safety. It really reminded me that we're not invincible. Most of the time, as drivers, we think as we're doing the right things, if we're being cautious and are not being distracted, then we're not going to be the ones with the total loss, right? And what I got to see was most of the time, it wasn't the person with the perfect record causing the total loss, right? It's others in the road. So I wanted to develop a new way of thinking, of processing. I felt the need to learn how to be more careful, how to be more aware of my surroundings. Life is too precious, and safety measures are not to be taken for granted. So for my passion for health and safety was born here, but I still needed to feed it and fuel it in order for it to grow and really take off. So when I decided to go back to school, that's right, I went back to school. I went to Taft College, and I decided this time things were going to be different. I wanted to get involved. I gained so much knowledge and exposure of the industrial health and safety field through my classes at Taft College, but now I wanted to apply it. So I had heard about the American Society of Safety Professionals, a group that gets together in Bakersfield once a month to discuss safety topics, and I joined. I found out about this group through my professor in my safety classes who had mentioned it. I decided to attend a meeting. Through that meeting, I got to network with other safety professionals in the industry as well. I was really connected to my professors, not just during class time, but during their office hours, because they always provided me with great advice and direction when I needed it. I would listen to it, and then I would go out and apply it. I connected with the college's career counselor, Tori, at the time, and she was the one, because she was the one sending out the internship opportunities, right? All the emails were coming from the career college counselor, and my professor's like, why don't you go pay her a visit? So I went to her office. We talked about the internship. She helped me find one that was best suited for me, and that's how I found Aera. They were actually hiring for a health and safety intern for the summer, so that was awesome. She helped me polish my resume, and she helped me prepare for my interview. We went through a series of mock trials, answering questions and just practicing. And guess what? When I went into that interview, I felt confident because I knew I had done everything in my power to be prepared. Did it take work? Yes. Did I have to put in extra work and extra time? Yes. Was it worth it? Heck yes. See, during your educational journey, you'll see that most around you really want you to succeed and are willing to lend the time and attention, especially for those who need it, for those who are struggling. So I want to leave you with this, a couple of points that really helped me make all the difference throughout my educational journey and life in itself, because we can all be successful regardless of your background, regardless of the timing. Embrace your new reality. So invest in yourself. Be proactive. It's okay if you don't know what your goal is, but don't stop investing in yourself. Don't stop growing. Be focused and try to persevere. Ask questions. Use your resources. The college provides so many resources, not to mention Google, right? I mean, our best friend, our go-to. Use them. They're there to help you. Get involved. A lot of times I used to question myself and doubt myself when I was going to be involved or make that commitment, or I would doubt myself like it couldn't be me. I am now the president of the American Society of Safety Professionals at the university. It can be you. Get involved. Through those clubs, through those connections, you're going to see that there's so much opportunity out there. Education and career go hand in hand. Through Taft College, through pursuing my education, it led me through an easier path of opening a door for my career, for an opportunity at a career. So don't give up, stay connected, network, and don't ignore the emails. The emails are so easy to ignore, but once you start investing in yourself and really taking the time, you're going to see that, oh, wait, this one actually relates to me. Oh, wait, this is something that can benefit me. Oh, wait, I didn't know that there was so much opportunity out there. I know because that was me, right? I kind of, but then I became more interested. And so don't miss out. There really is so much out there, and you are worthy of a success story as well. So thank you guys for the time. I pass it on to Sherry.
Oh, Karen, thank you so much. Such words of wisdom. I didn't know you were the president of the American Safety Society. They have that at CSUB now.
They do, yes.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a very, very good organization, especially for somebody that wants to be in your line of work. And, you know, your words are very, very wise. I love the fact that you stated, don't not look at the emails, because sometimes the younger generation, they really don't read their emails like us, like I would. I read every email. It's important. You're right. There's a lot of good stuff in those emails, and it's a good way to still communicate and find out what's going on. I do want to just take a moment and tell everybody that's on right now, please put your name on the chat wall, or put your name in. We need to see those names because that's how we're going to give away the Amazon gift card. So please, right now, if you're on, drop your name into the chat line. Karen, again, I want to say thank you because you are amazing, and you have persevered. You really have. And to have all of those degrees, and that's only at a community college. Now you're at a university. I can't wait to see what you do there and how far you go and what your career is going to look like. I'm very proud of you, and we're proud to have you as a Taft College alum. I'm sure CSU Bakersfield will feel the same way about you, or they already do probably because they know you. But thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. And remember, everybody, the question site, please, if you have some questions for Karen now that she spoke, please put those in there because we'd like to get those back to Karen toward the end of our program. But right now, Mahea is going to tell me who won the Amazon gift card. Da, 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 da. Drum roll, please. Remember, everybody, put your name on that list and send those questions in for Karen, because we want to get those things answered for you. Even if you're not an industrial health and safety pursuer, it's okay. Like I told you earlier, she's got degrees in communications, liberal arts, with emphases in math and science. She's gone beyond and above. She's done the extra work, so you can ask her almost any kind of question. Plus, she worked at State Farm for a while, so she has some working knowledge. And of course, she's been at Aera for a long time. So, without further ado, let's see who. Okay, Carla Ivy, you just won a $50 gift certificate from Amazon. So, yay! Woohoo! Don't spend it all in one place. Oh wait, you have to. Okay. Well, Carla Ivy, Mahea will reach out to you and we'll get you that link so you can just pick up your card right online. We're going to make this easy for you, and we're glad you're on. And so let's move on to Mr. Ryan Nelson. We appreciate Mr. Ryan Nelson. He has been with Aera Energy now for, gosh, 20 years. I think he told me the other day. Ryan, he says he grew up in a resort town. And so I'll let him tell you what that resort town is. He went to college in a resort town, he says. He found his home in Bakersfield. And without spoiling too much, you know, about his career journey, because I want him to tell you, what I can tell you is about his life experience has certainly shaped who he is. His purpose in life for today is to help individuals think about and consider what is important to them. That's you, who's listening, and encourage you to talk about your interests and aspirations, whether it be with friends, family, professor, or a current or prospective boss. Like Karen said, ask questions, communicate. Ryan is a husband to a wife of 18 years and 5 kids. I did not know that, Ryan has 5 kids. And he's a caregiver to a menagerie of 4-legged and 2-legged friends, but I'll let him tell you about that too. So, Ryan, without further ado, take it away.
Thank you, Sherry, and thanks for providing the opportunity for me to talk, as well as for Karen to share a little bit of our career journeys. And thank you, Taft College, for setting up this Taft Multiply. It'll be exciting to see how we can continue to connect with students, as well as community members that may be out there listening in as well. So as Sherry mentioned, my name is Ryan Nelson. Worked with Aera now for 20 years. I came out of directly out of school and was one of the fortunate ones that got an HR job directly out of school, which is pretty hard to come by both then and I would imagine even now. And so currently I'm the talent acquisition lead for Aera, so I'm responsible for all 3 recruiting streams that we have at Aera. So that would be our experienced professionals, our college graduates like we're talking with you today, and as well as our operations and craft positions, which is essentially our oil field operators, mechanics, electricians, and the individuals that really bring the oil, put the oil in the tank for Aera, and they're our essential workers. So certainly appreciate them as they're working out in the field. Some of them driving through Taft on a regular basis, and actually had the opportunity in part of my career to serve as their HR business partner. So I spent a lot of time out in Taft as well, talking with employees and understanding what ultimately makes them feel important and valued. So, well, I'm here, and I guess I'm sure some of you are here today to find out more about Aera and potential job opportunities. But I think our overall goal, as we were talking with Sherry and talking with Karen a little bit, is to, I guess, kind of talk about what our journeys are, share our career journeys, so that we can hopefully encourage each of you to think about and reflect on kind of where you are. And as you start your search for career, you know, ultimately, what does that mean? And finding things that are meaningful to you, finding your purpose, and in a way, hopefully able to figure out what company you want to go and work for that aligns with that meaning and purpose. Because when you come to find out after 20 years, you spend a lot of time at work, and you certainly don't want to be miserable. And so the goal is ultimately to find that job that provides you meaning and purpose. And so I'll share a little bit of my journey on how we got there. But I guess before I kind of jump into my own journey, maybe I'll share a little bit about kind of why it's important that you think about what's important to yourself. And I guess I'll say, if you have questions along the way, and I'll encourage you to post those in the Q&A box as well. And those experienced community members that are on listening, you're also welcome to share your perspectives, because I think ultimately the Taft Multiply, if I understand correctly from Sherry, is really an opportunity to connect both community, student, and general members. And so if it's an opportunity to learn together and grow together, then I'm all for it. And so I guess maybe I'll start as over the past couple years, I've had the opportunity within the company to refresh our performance and development process. We've looked at redoing our onboarding process. And as a result, it's really allowed me to reflect on my own career journey. And so what it ultimately provided me was a better appreciation for the importance of finding your purpose, and then finding a company that aligns with that purpose so that you can feel valued every day that you go to work. Because ultimately, if you don't go to work, if you go to a job and you don't understand why you're there, and you don't understand what value you're adding to that company, then it becomes very miserable. And so I think, fortunate for me, I've been able to find that at Aera for 20 years, but I think others, it may take a little bit of time to find that company that fits you. So, but as I went through those different experiences, and I think about the interviews, the new hire orientations that I've helped coordinate, exit interviews that I've done, there's really that common theme that emerged with each of the individuals that I talked with, was the value of having an authentic conversation about what is important to you, and talking with the individuals that you're interacting with, and ultimately from a company standpoint, your boss, and finding out and determining whether or not your purpose and what's important to you aligns with what the company views as important. And ultimately, if there's a misalignment, I think ultimately that's why people choose to leave companies and go find a different company. And ultimately, I think that's okay. But really, before that authentic conversation can happen, you first have to understand what's important to yourself. And so you've heard kind of from Karen and her journey, and kind of what led her, and her understanding of what became important to her, and how it steered her into health and safety. And I think you'll probably hear that from my experience, and kind of what I valued and what was important to me, and how Aera was able to provide that support. So I guess maybe there's a couple questions that you might be asking is, okay, well, how do you figure out what's important to you? And I think you heard Karen talk a little bit about using Taft College resources, right? You got to do the research. And I'll say that from my own experience, in that I didn't do the research, but I'll share more a little bit later. But I'd also encourage, and as Karen mentioned, if you have the opportunity, try different experiences, particularly those that get you out of your comfort zone. Because when you get out of your comfort zone and kind of into that slightly uncomfortable space, that's where you grow the most. You obviously don't want to get into your panic zone where you're really just, and then you want to try and get out of that situation as fast as possible, right? But I think that's really the value and the great part about junior colleges, is they provide those opportunities, and it doesn't necessarily have that significant cost or risk. And again, I'll share my experience on that as well. And in some cases, there really is no cost, right? You can volunteer, you can mentor, you can get involved in ways that actually don't cost you any money, like a class might cost you if you were to go to Taft College. So from a company standpoint, and an example that I'll kind of share is, we're particularly interested as we're looking at different programs. The career technical education programs are something that we look at when working in the oil fields, right? It becomes something that provides experience as well as some of the skills that we're finding are lacking. And I think in general we're looking for or recognizing that today's work world is less about brute force and strength and more about finesse and problem solving. And so particularly for women that are out there as well, that the oil field is certainly not what it used to be. And so even women working in the oil field is something that we're always very interested in. And as a woman, you're very capable of performing the task. So for those of you that are still wondering what those careers are, oil field operations is certainly a good way to start a career as well. So, and we can talk something about that a little bit later too. So the other question I figure you might be kind of wondering about is, well, how do you find out what's important to a company? And I think you heard Karen reference at Aera, we call it our purpose, vision, and values. Other companies will call it a mission statement. The general, I guess the gist of what we call our purpose, vision, and values is the purpose provides the reason for why we exist. Our vision is our aspired future, and our values are kind of the foundation of our culture and our behaviors. And then you'll find that some companies, I'll say like Aera, they've actually we've taken an additional step to try and articulate why an employee would want to come to work for Aera. And we call that our employee value proposition. So ultimately, why is it that an employee would want to come to work for Aera? It's ultimately the culture. We call it the Aera experience, but it's a culture that inspires people to connect, grow, and thrive, both inside and outside of work. And so that also provides me the reason for why I want to come and connect with you, help you grow, and hopefully help you thrive outside of work, and hopefully maybe inside of work. So, as Ian has posted on the live chat or the Q&A, there's some different connection opportunities with Aera, whether you follow us with our I guess I'll say maybe our Aeragram, I guess is what it's called. So it's kind of a newsletter. There's obviously our website that you can go on and learn more about us. We'll talk about full-time opportunities, our summer internship, which I can probably answer a little bit more maybe in the Q&A side. But the third question, and probably why maybe you're dying to know my life journey, right? But it's ultimately why do I keep working at Aera? In the simplest terms, it's Aera and the oil industry in general really fits my value proposition and what's important to me. And so what you'll hear from my journey is that I've had a lot of different experiences. It's a little bit of a non-traditional route, but on one hand, on the other hand, it's probably more traditional than some. And so I think the beauty of it and the beauty of diversity is everybody has different experiences that shape who they are. And so, and I guess I've been fortunate, as I mentioned earlier, in having the opportunity to learn more about myself and grow all within the same company. So that in and of itself is somewhat unique in this day and age. So here's my story. I grew up in Southern California, that resort town by the name of Crestline. So it's in the Lake Arrowhead or Big Bear Mountain area. So for those that are familiar with the area, grew up skiing in the mountains, loved it. A typical, I guess I'll say, Leave It to Beaver family for all you Gen Xers out there or that recognize it. But what that means is really a traditional middle income family, 2 older siblings, a mom that stayed at home and a dad that worked. Both parents graduated from college and did what it took to ensure that they provided a great childhood with very little to have to worry about. And I say that because I recognize some of you that may be on the call didn't have that opportunity. And so I was fortunate from the standpoint that I didn't have a lot to worry about. I was able to focus on the books. I'll say I was book smart, and maybe I wasn't real street smart. And I had to work at it. I had to work pretty hard, but part of that resulted in me probably being a little bit judgmental of those students who focused their energy elsewhere. Judgmental from the standpoint that I thought I had to go to a four-year university to be successful. And I guess from my experience, what I saw was that the students that went to the local junior college, for me, were always hanging out at the end of the high school parking lot waiting for their younger friends to get out of school. And it was kind of like, okay, you guys got to grow up a little bit. So for those of you that are from Taft High School, maybe don't want to hang out down at the bottom of the high school while you're attending Taft College, but I realize it's right next door, so maybe it's a little bit challenging. So, but ultimately, what I really missed in retrospect was the fact that some of those other students had already found their passion, whether it's auto shop, welding, they were pouring their energy into mastering their craft. And the irony, as I've caught up with them a little bit later or heard some rumors either through Facebook or connections, is they now have they're masters at and their skills are sought out all over the world. And so it's a little ironic and a little bit humbling to realize that I was pretty short-sighted as an 18-year-old punk. So now, and I guess interestingly, in my recruiting role, now we're worried about those craft skills because a lot of the high schools are cutting those programs out of their vocational or cutting the vocational programs out of their curriculum. And so as a corporate world, we're looking at how do we support those hands-on type of skills. And so again, a plug for the CTE programs in junior colleges. It really allows that opportunity for students that may not be the four-year bound student, right? You hear a lot of focus on the STEM degrees, but there's a whole nother career that's viable in those hands-on craft skills. So now I think as I referenced earlier, obviously a little judgmental on one hand. On the other hand, I was probably spoiled from the standpoint that I wasn't willing to do the research up front on what type of career I'd like to go into. So book smart, loved math, liked math, knew I didn't want to teach, unfortunately, but interestingly, that will come full circle as well. So, but I'd also say I may not have had some of the resources available from a smaller school district. So, when I look now at Kern County and I hear about where I participate in the Kern High School District Career Fair, those types of things were never available at my high school, but certainly shouldn't have been my excuse for, not doing a little bit more research. And so the fact that you're on the call today tells me that you're at least willing to do a little bit of research. So good job. You're one step ahead of me. So, but I also recognize that I was very fortunate from the standpoint that I had the support of my family or my parents and my work ethic that enabled me to go to college and go to a four-year school. So I got accepted into Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, started in civil engineering, like I said, because I liked math, but didn't want to teach. So that's pretty sound reason to go into civil engineering, right? So it took me 4 quarters though before I realized that engineering wasn't for me. It was 1 quarter of 3-dimensional math and electricity and magnetism that broke me. So I decided to switch degrees. And as I was evaluating my options, I knew I wanted to stay at Cal Poly. So as we're talking about what's important, right? Even in switching degrees, it's important to know what you're placing value in. And so for me, I wanted to stay at Cal Poly. There's that resort town that I went to school in. So I realize half of Bakersfield probably goes over there as well. And maybe you all will be hoping to transfer there if you're in that pre-engineering program at Taft. So, but I knew I had to pick another degree because at the time, and I don't know if it's the same at Cal Poly, is once you've decided to change your degree, that program wants you out. And so the engineering school gave me about a quarter to figure out where I wanted to be. Otherwise, they would kick me out and ultimately out of Cal Poly. So School of Business was impacted, didn't have any space. And so I switched into the School of Social Sciences. Now, why social sciences? I was leading team building workshops and personal empowerment workshops through a ropes course that we had on campus at the time, and I really enjoyed working with the teams and helping them achieve things as a team more than they could as individuals. And so one of my coworkers at that time was in social sciences and said she used a lot of the content from her degree in what she was using there. So it started to shape, how do I want to help people, and actually got me more leaning towards a training component, which is not that far from teaching, if you caught that reference. So despite my willingness or unwillingness to teach, it started to come back around to being in that training function. So I ended up switching degrees, and through, I guess I'll say maybe my summers before I switched degrees, it was really just the things that you typically would do in your early undergrad. So I worked at camps, I worked in the kitchen, either washing dishes, serving food. I was even a camp counselor, so it got me involved with some high adventure activities because I love being outdoors. But ultimately, it wasn't something that was going to make my career. So then I switched into social sciences, and during those last 2 or 3 summers that I had, I really tried to seize the opportunities to try different experiences. And they certainly told me things that I wanted to do or things that I didn't want to do. So part of social sciences provided me a chance to go on an archaeological dig at Mission San Antonio, which is right outside of Lake Nacimiento in King City. So I got to spend some time there. I physically lived at the mission during the dig, so that was kind of fun. Got to kick it with the Padres that lived at the mission. And then I also had a chance to go on a study abroad program in Thailand. And I was there for 5.5 months. And one of the opportunities then was an internship teaching English at AMD's production facility. So AMD is the microchip processor, Intel's competitor essentially. And so had the opportunity to teach English there. So through those different experiences, obviously created a lot of opportunity to grow. Ironically, now in the recruiting role and the function that we do for our interns, we obviously encourage internships in the field of study that you're studying. I didn't have an HR internship, ironically. But I will say, and maybe my encouragement to each of you, is that every experience you have is a valid one and one where you can grow. So think about how those experiences have developed you, whether or not it's directly related to your course of study. So I'm getting ready to graduate, and I ended up ultimately graduating with a Bachelor's of Science in Social Science. But in order to make it career relevant, I added a concentration in organizational communication so that I could focus in human resources as the best course of or best career path at that point. So then the challenge became, how do I actually get a job in HR at a school that was primarily focused for engineering? And so I also decided, well, maybe I ought to try different opportunities. And so I applied to be a sheriff in my local or in my hometown. And at the time, my girlfriend, now my wife, encouraged me to really think about whether that fit what was important to me, because I'm also not very I'm more conflict avoidant. And so that would certainly put me in my stretch zone, maybe in my panic zone. But fortunately, then Aera gave me a cold call, said, "Do you want to come to Bakersfield?" Or said, would you like to interview with us, I guess I should say. And I went, sure. And then I went online and saw it was in Bakersfield. And I went, But then I realized, you know what? I've got to keep an open mind. As I mentioned, grew up in Southern California, so I had the negative connotation of Bakersfield. And I'm so glad that I kept an open mind, because I came in, loved it, continue to love it. And as I mentioned in the intro, I grew up in a resort town, went to a resort town, and I hit reality when I came to Bakersfield. But the reality is that, you know, nowhere else in California can you afford to live. And I always remember coming out of school, talking with my friends who were engineers, because that's where what I started in, and you know, they were going to LA or San Francisco, and they couldn't touch an apartment for more than what I was paying for the first house that I bought, you know, 1 or 2 years out of college. And so I would talk to them about my pool and spa, and they're like, "Ah, you dog," and I'm like, "Come to Bakersfield, you'll find life, and it'll be exciting." And the oil industry, particularly for HR, is a great one to get into. But it's also because for the oil industry, it's really providing the energy that California needs. And so, yeah, I think about it, and the first 6 months was really rough, just from the standpoint of transitioning between college and career. As a company, we pay you to resolve the problems that we hired you for, not be provided a syllabus of what you need to do. So that was really my biggest growth opportunity, was figuring out how to have courage in setting my own agenda. And so it took a course before it settled in that the company was comfortable providing me the ability and the empowerment to actually set the course. And so my first assignment at Aera was actually designing and putting in place our campus recruiting, our intern program. And so we're still using those today, obviously with improvements as each person that's come behind me added and made improvements to make it a strong intern program that we have today, and a strong campus recruiting program that we have. So, and I think now that, you know, that was 20 years ago, and obviously it's provided a lot of growth. And holy smokes, I realize I'm talking a lot. So I better finish up. You know, ultimately, it wasn't really until Aera talked about this concept of the employee value proposition that it really hit home with me. You know, and why it is that I want to come to work. And it's one, is I find meaning and purpose in my work, that I knowing that I'm making an impact on the company and the people with whom I interact. And for me, that's that connection. And I've never stopped growing, both personally and professionally, through the variety of experiences Aera's provided within HR, and I've never had to move. So that's the other important part for me, was that I did not want to move. And so that enabled me to grow. And then it's also enabled me to be successful both inside and outside of work in order to support my family. And that's really helping me thrive so much that my wife and I, along with our kids' help, now have been running a horse boarding facility for 12 years. We're in our 6th year of showing pygmy goats, and in our 2nd year of actually breeding pygmy goats for show and sale. So I think with that, maybe I'll leave you with maybe the final reflection is that, you know, we each find out or figure out or learn about what is important to us in different ways at different times, leading us all down different paths. And that's the beauty of what diversity is. There's really no playbook. There's no right or wrong way. We're just different. And so never underestimate the value of any experience that you have. Each experience is an important one that provides you the opportunity to grow, but equally important to reflect. So, and lastly, we have control over how we respond to a situation. Ultimately, if you want a different outcome, then we choose how to change our response. So thank you, and I'll open up, I guess, pass it back to Sherry for the last couple minutes here.
Well, we're gonna take a few questions, and I think Ian's going to facilitate that. But I want to say thank you, Ryan, because everything that you said was so important for any person at any particular time of their career to understand. We reflect back and go, gosh, why did I do that? But you know as well as I do that without struggle does not come clarity. So we've got to struggle through it, and pretty soon you work through your clouds and you're like, oh, now I understand why that happened. It taught me that I either do or don't want to do that, and maybe I can go this way. Those were the reflection part is incredible. And thank you for sharing your story with us. because those kinds of stories is where we learn, right? Everyone's different, and we're all different, and diversity is wonderful, and we all go about it a different way, and that's what makes our world a great place. Karen, with you, the investment in yourself. Oh, the pygmy goat! Yay, the pygmy goat! There's the pygmy goat, everybody. So cute, makes me want to get one. Okay, I'll talk to you later about that, Ron. Anyway, Karen, your investment is just invest in yourself, ask questions, and you know, don't give up. Don't give up, right?
That's right.
So I'm going to say that this today, and I'm going to turn this over to Ryan now for some questions, but today is possible because of Taft College Multiply. Taft College Multiply is Taft College's way of creating a platform for everyone that we know to communicate with each other. We are focusing now on career development and career aspirations, but networking is networking, like Ryan said. And Karen, the more people you know, the more opportunities that come your way. So download the free app. We built it for you. Put it on your phone and post. Tell us stuff. Look for jobs, because Ryan told me we might get some jobs from Aera on there, maybe even some internships. So you want to keep checking. And it's a great way for you to stay in touch with us. And we're going to be doing these monthly, so we want you to continue to join with us. So Ian is going to figure out which questions and for which people, and we'll end with some questions. I do want to say one thing though before we go, because we have to give away the Amazon gift card, and Mejia told me who it was going to. It is going to Belan Delgado. Belan, it's B-E-L-A-N, Belan. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Belan Delgado. You just won a $50 Amazon gift card. And as I said, don't spend it all in one place. Okay, so Mejia will get you that link. Ian, congratulations. Take it away, Ian. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so there are a lot of really awesome questions in here. The first one for Karen, she did respond, but I think it's of value if you to repeat. So the first question for Karen was, could you provide guidance on beginning an American Safety Society club at Taft?
Oh, I like it.
So that is a great question. I wanted to make sure I replied in the chat, but I am so happy to go over it again. And I can speak from my own experience because I was there at Taft, and I was also seeking to establish the student section there. And I think the biggest challenge I faced the last time was just regular student participation, because they're to meet the expectations, right, of each position. So you'll have a leadership, and that is about 8 people in your leadership board. And you need to have that commitment from those students to make a monthly meeting at least. So don't give up, because there are students who want to commit. It's just about getting them there, right? From there forward, it's so much good comes out of it. And then the next thing I would just recommend is to look for a faculty advisor who is going to be supporting and willing to be a part of the new student section group there. So that would be your first 2 main tasks, I would say, to get you going in starting that group there. But I encourage it. I know you can do it. So that would be the first 2 steps, though, for sure, Ian.
Excellent.
And I think that's a great question. I do want to say, if you want to try to start that club, please reach out to Mejia, and I will help you find a faculty person, and we will help you, because I think we need it. And we certainly have plenty of industry around to help support us too. And we can reach out to the American Safety Society as well, but we want to help. So let us know.
And I just want to add one more note into that, because we've had, to my understanding, Taft College has had this group presence there before. It just kind of fell out. So the opportunity to get it back going again it's highly favorable. Not to mention, when it was active, to my understanding, also Aera had liaisons with Taft College through the American Society of Safety Professionals in Bakersfield. So there's that connection right there. There's so much support for the group, like Sherry was saying. So reach out, network. This is your chance.
Awesome. And that kind of leads into another question by Olivia Jones. In December, she's going to be finishing her bachelor's degree in public policy, but wants to get involved in the energy industry. Can't necessarily afford a master's degree, but do have experience with ESRI and GIS. Would getting an ESRI certificate or anything at Taft College be beneficial to being hired with an oil energy company? If so, what type of position? So that's probably for Karen or Ryan or Sherry. Well,
yeah, I guess I can. Maybe I'll take the question from the standpoint of what types of positions in the oil and gas industry. First, I guess congratulations on getting ready to finish your bachelor's. That's a great job. I think the opportunities are probably in, I guess, in Aera's organizations called our government affairs group or our legal group. Probably more government affairs because they're doing most of the work, working with regulators up in Sacramento about the different policies that may be going into place. We also have a group within our environmental health and safety group that's dealing with the environmental regulations. And so there's, sometimes there might be a slight overlap in that. So at least within Aera, it would probably be like an environmental specialist would be an entry-level position, government affairs specialist. They're relatively limited in number, at least from Aera's standpoint, but Chevron, CRC, some of the Berry, I guess some of the other local producers may have those same opportunities, maybe titled slightly different. As far as the certificate, if the certificate provides you applicable knowledge that you can show and that you can actually apply, then I think it's valuable. Just because you have it in and of itself isn't what we're after. It's really the practical application of that. So I'm not exactly sure what ESRI is either, but I think in general, certifications help, but it's not necessarily a requirement. It's ultimately practical application of it.
Awesome. Karen, do you have any advice for that question?
I'm sorry. Yes, so I just want to add on to a little bit of Ryan's point is that because I also achieved the Industrial Health and Safety Certificate program, and going through the program, it's just like Ryan was saying, it's for the application purposes, right? And the knowledge I gained, I was able to apply because the program took me to hands-on activities. There was days where we're applying what we're learning, and it was just so beneficial for me to take it and complete it. And being in the industry now, I got to really live out those scenarios and get that practice, even if it was for the day, a full day. You really get to get that hands-on practice, and I just felt it was very beneficial. So don't lose sight of that either. But like Ryan said, there's still plenty of opportunity.
Awesome.
And then Sherry, I wasn't sure if you wanted to share anything.
No, I think that was it. I think that getting a bachelor's degree, like me, I'm a perpetual student. So I just know, and I'll just add this, every time I get a certificate or I get another degree, doors start opening. And my mind starts opening where I feel like I can maybe handle more or do more. So I don't think that more education, just because you want more education, is good, but I don't think there'd be anything wrong with getting that certificate. Like Karen said, if it gave you value and something you could speak about toward the career that you were going for. And just to add to that, the governmental affairs jobs, yes, are kind of what your background with your degree could allow you to move into. And the oil and energy companies, they all have those jobs, and they come open once in a while. So just keep looking. But there's nothing wrong with furthering your knowledge if you want to go into the energy business. So that's really all I have to say.
Do we have time for, it's 1 o'clock, do we have time for another question? One more? Okay. So this one here is to any of the speakers. how would you recommend an incoming student spend their time while they're at Taft or in the community in order to be a prospective employee with Aera or the company? So probably both community service and being involved at the school level. Ryan, do you want to take that one first?
Yeah, and I think you kind of hit a good summary of it. You know, when we post our internships, which they would go on to our website, which I see is in the chat, we're ultimately looking for students that have taken leadership opportunities within both the school or the I guess local community that they're in, but then also someone that is taking their education seriously. So GPA is a component of that. I think in the end, we're typically looking for someone with a 3.0 or higher. So it's certainly a competitive opportunity. And then I think it's, yeah, school involvement, community involvement, and GPA are really the three primary components. And I guess maybe the final thing would really be having the ability to articulate what it is that's important to them, right? Much like we were talking about today, is seeing where your direction and where you can add value as a person in society.
Absolutely, getting those experiences. Karen, do you have anything you want to add to that question?
Sure, Ian, thank you. Ryan did a great job at summarizing that. And as a student, I just want to remind you that you can do it. You know, it seems sometimes a little bit intimidating, and I think oftentimes we live in this fear and this doubt, right? But it's sometimes I've learned that fear is disguised as something that just that is a challenging. It's getting you so uncomfortable, but that's going to potentially mold the best version of yourself. So if you can just manage to push through those fears, those boundaries, and really get outside of that comfort zone, you will thrive, and you will be that one to get those GPAs up there. You'll be that one to take on those leadership positions, and you'll be that one that people are looking at to bring into their field of work. It doesn't matter which field you're in. If you're working hard, it's gonna pay off. So that's it, Ian.
Thank you so much. Sherry, and I'll close it out with turn it over to you.
Yes, thank you. Those were wonderful questions. I'm sorry we didn't get to everybody's, but maybe next time we'll plan for maybe just a little bit longer session. But I want to first of all thank Aera Energy for being with us today, because both Karen and Ryan, you've added so much to even I learned, so I know everybody else there had to learn. It's great information and it's inspiring, so thank you. I want to thank all of the participants that are on. Tell your friends, we're going to keep doing this. Make sure that you get on to Taft College Multiply, because we're going to have job postings and internships postings, and we'll let you know when the next Taft Talk is going to be, which should be probably mid-September sometime. We have some other industry partners online with us, and maybe Aera would be interested in this as well. We have Continental Labor as doing a potential Taft Talk. We have the people at Bitwise and Geekwise doing a potential Taft Talk. They'll talk about computer science and coding. So we want to be broad. Chevron's going to come on. Tejon Ranch is going to come on. So we'll have these different people calendared for everyone, so you know when you want to get on. And we're certainly going to have Aera Energy back, because we want to talk to you again, because we want to find out what's going on, and we want to hear more about the pygmy goats. In case anybody wants to buy a pygmy goat, Ryan sells those. Fascinating. You realize you can have a great job and a great career and still have fun and have, you know, four-legged friends around you, right? And you can still have a great career and a great internship and go to school full-time and take care of your daughter. All of it is a lot of work. So thank you. We look forward to seeing you again. And Mahea, I think this might be a wrap. Yep, I'm wrapping it up. That's it. Adios, amigos. Remember, feel the fear and do it anyway. Bye.
Thank you all.
Bye, you guys.